This is the last time I'm going to pick subtext, so I might as well do it all. I'll just do it all now because I'm never going to do it again. This is an example of an addictive thinking trap, and I bet you have lots of them. I'm Annette Pasternak, the Stop Skin Picking Coach, and I help people stop compulsively picking their skin. And the things that we think in our minds and the things that we say to ourselves, that we tell ourselves, which usually isn't much. We have all these unanswered thoughts in our heads, but these are the kind of things that can really affect whether you recover from this or not. You probably have all sorts of thoughts that are getting you to do this behavior, or once you're doing it, are keeping you going in it. And even if you're somebody who most of the time it seems like you end up picking mindlessly, like you're not thinking anything particular before you start doing it, even there, I bet that when I say some of these thoughts, you're going to recognize them. And regardless of whether you do or not, then it also helps to add thoughts into your head. Okay, what we call self talk, right? Is like we have these automatic thoughts popping in our head. What do we tell ourselves to get ourselves away from the picking? This is really key to stopping. The first class of addictive thinking traps is permission giving thoughts. So these are the ways that we open the door to picking. I've worked with hundreds of people. Everybody has the thought, just this one, or just a little, or just here, right? Where you're like, you find something, and then with that thought, you tell yourself to go start picking, right? It's like, because you're only going to do this one, only going to do a little. Hey, this is a universal addictive thinking trap. So somebody addicted to alcohol they don't really believe they're going to have another binge session. It's just this one. Okay, just one drink. Same with cookies. If overeating is your thing, it's like, okay, I'll just have one. But then it ends up being the whole bunch. And the problem is that we believe these thoughts, right? So we really need to start to recognize them and tell ourselves, like remind ourselves, this is the problem, this is the lie, this is the addiction, this is the thought that gets you in trouble. You cannot believe it, right? So whether it's just one, just a little, just here, or whether it's some other permission giving thoughts, like the one we mentioned in the beginning, like, oh, I'm never gonna pick again. Well, that's also denial, right? That's a common another common addictive thinking trap, but it is the opening the door thought. It is the permission giving as well. Like, I'm not doing it after today. So there it all goes. In the vein of denial, I'm not going to pick. This is another big one. So, do you say that to yourself? Do you go to a habitual spot where you usually quite often end up picking, whether it's your couch, your car, your bathroom, any place, and you tell yourself, oh, I'm okay, I'm not going to pick? Well, that is sometimes an addictive thought as well, right? This surety that we're not going to do the thing, we're not going to indulge in whatever it is. And so it's really a lot smarter, instead of feeling like, oh, yeah, I don't have this problem just because I'm not feeling it right now. Instead of that, to always remind yourself instead that your thoughts about whether you're going to pick or not are actually unreliable. And you have to use your strategies each time you're in these dangerous situations. Okay. At least until you get to the point where you know they're not a danger for you, or you can handle it then because you have enough distance from the picking, enough practice not picking when you're in other situations, etc. Other forms of permission giving would be, I've had a really hard day, so I need to do this, or I can do this, or I deserve to do this. You have to recognize this is only going to make it worse. You have to start to recognize these thoughts and tell yourself, like, no, you've had a bad day, but this will only make it worse. So let's not. I've been doing really good lately. So I can just do a little. I mean, if your goal is to stop this entirely, it makes no sense, right? So it's kind of like you're trying to reward yourself with the thing that you're trying to stop. So maybe there tell yourself, like, that's not a reward you deserve. Like, the reward that you want is clear skin, better skin, whatever it is. But it's not this, right? It's not doing the behavior a little, because that leads downhill. That leads somewhere bad. Okay. Sometimes people use, like, oh, I don't have a problem with this kind of picking, so it's okay. Or in this body part, under their hair or something, like nobody will see under your clothes. So that also is, you've got to recognize it, and you're like, oh, that keeps me trapped. So after we open the door to picking with these kind of thoughts, then we step through, and then we have the kind of thoughts that's like, I blew it, might as well keep going. Or you have the thoughts like, I shouldn't be doing this, I should stop. None of these thoughts get you to stop. They really are just the making you feel guilty, so you keep doing it. They're telling you it's useless. What's the use? You've already started. It's equating, doing any amount with, like, you might as well do all of it. Okay, so this is all or nothing thinking. This is the other super common addictive thinking trap here. Like, that there's no difference between, oh, you slipped up and you started doing it, than, like, picking for hours or whatever. So that's another trap that you need to recognize and, bust up, like, just answer in some way. And a really good way is to make stopping seem really positive. First, just to put the idea of stopping into your head. So, the idea with all these automatic thoughts also is that they are hypnotizing. So if you have no other thoughts in your head when you're listening to a thought that's like, I need to get this, I need to fix this, I have to get rid of the bumps. Anytime you just have one thought, it's like you're hypnotizing yourself. You're not hearing anything else. If you only have one thought that's telling you what to do, you're going to do what it's telling you to do. So we have to be aware, or become aware, in the moment that we're having these thoughts. We have to recognize these particular thoughts, and then we have to answer them. And one answer that my clients have really found the most helpful is, stopping now is a win. All of a sudden, if you have that thought, like, stopping now is a win, it becomes appealing to stop. First of all, it just puts the idea in your head of stopping, which you weren't thinking of before. You were just thinking of what you're doing. But now when you think of stopping and you frame it in such a positive way, like, that's a win, which it is, compared to anything else, compared to keeping on going, which you would have done if this thought didn't occur to you, if this self talk didn't occur to you. It is a win. So when you tell yourself stop now is a win, and then you go stop, just putting the idea in your head is going to make it so much more likely to happen. So there are others of these. There's a whole lot of helpful self-talk you can get in the practice of doing. What I recommend for that is my book, Skin Picking: The Freedom We Found. We have so much self-talk in here. There are almost 2.5 pages of self-talk suggestions here. Everything from different healing thoughts, telling yourself, oh, it's just a bump, let it heal, to pep talk thoughts such as stop now is a win. Action thoughts, if you just tell yourself what to do instead, and there are lots of examples here. Take your hand off your face. And then certain thoughts that put things into perspective. Will picking make any of this better? And then there's a section on compassionate self-talk and self-acceptance, on perfectionism, reframing, focus. shifting your focus. There's a lot in here, and I partly wanted to add it to this video, obviously, because there's a lot more self talk in here than there is in my first book. But also, this book, The Freedom We Found, is so much better than my first book. I wrote my first book like over 10 years ago, and I know so many people love it. But this one I wrote 2 years ago with just so much more experience in coaching and just so much more knowledge and even ability writing. So it's just a better book, and so few people have it compared to my first book, and so few people have read it. So highly recommend this. I'll put a link to it below. And this is obviously not an extensive list of the addictive thinking traps, but hopefully you got some insight here into what's going on in your mind and why you start picking or keep picking, because so many times people's thought is like, why do I keep doing this? So this is a bit of a reason why you've had these thoughts so many hundreds of times. So it's not easy to start to recognize them and tell yourself something that will make you stop, and practicing that, and then, practicing stopping or not starting in the first place. It is a hard thing. This is like being addicted to something that's always with you, right? It's not as easy, even though like getting off drugs or alcohol is not easy at all, at least in one way. Stopping picking is harder because the addictive substance is always with you. It's just your skin. Give yourself some grace and compassion because of that. This is really a hard thing. And I've had clients who were sober and working on the picking, and they all said that the picking is so much harder. So just a note on that. If you have any ideas, anything you'd like me to do for future videos, please leave a comment. And what do you think your top thought is that gets you into trouble? Please leave that in the comments as well. I think that will be so instructive for everyone and helpful for everyone too. And also, if you have something that's worked for you, what to say instead or in those moments, please tell us that as well. There are so many more thoughts even that get people to pick or keep them picking. And so let me know in the comments if you'd like another one of these videos. I could do another one sometime. And also, what else do you want me to talk about? All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.